I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing chin-ups. I've been doing pull-ups. I threw up once, but I'm okay now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. DJ on this side, Richie on the other. And Rich, a good talk this afternoon with Mr. Hartwig about the soccer and volleyball, a little bit of football sprinkled in.
A little bit.
We're going to dive into those football brackets here this afternoon on the Power Hour. We're going to talk about kind of our expectations. Maybe not who's going to win the game, but the expectations of the games that are being played on YSN. Right now, there are 21 games confirmed. 21 games confirmed on the network. Working on another one, possibly two more. The one disappointment that we have, well, let's just do our, that's called a tease, right? Isn't that how you tease it? That's a really bad tease, by the way.
Yeah, because, I mean, you almost went into the topic.
I almost went into it. Put the brakes on it, and then we're going to talk about it right out of On This Day in Sports History. Here we go. All right, this is an interesting one. You ready for it?
Yep.
On this day, October 26th, 1988, Donald Trump bills Mike Tyson $2 million for 4 months of advisory service.
Nice.
Donald Trump telling Mike Tyson and giving him advice. How much would you pay for anybody? Who would you take? Like, who's the one person that if they said, hey, I'll give you advice, but it's going to cost you $2 million, that'd be worth it in the return on investment in that $2 million? Anybody in the world.
If I had $2 million?
Well, if you had more than that.
I was going to say, I got to get there first to be able to pay them.
But you knew you'd make more than $2 million from this advice.
Okay.
So it really doesn't matter.
Probably like a Joe Buck.
For broadcasting?
For broadcasting. Somebody that's been there and has done it before and knows the ins and outs of the business at like a high level. Maybe like a Jim Nantz. I'd probably Jim Nantz for sure. That's my answer. I feel like Jim Nantz would be really good and tell you the truth.
How do you think that would go? Like, hello, friend. Hello, Rich.
Here's what you need to do.
I'm Jim Nantz from CBS.
Broadcaster.
I made Tony Romo's career. And then I burned it down to the ground.
I heard he's doing his last March Madness this year. Jim Nantz is, yeah. So I think he might be close to giving it up.
One of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Easily. Who's your favorite broadcaster ever?
Tom Hamilton.
Well, I knew that. Damn it. Why did I even ask that? Where does I'm blanking on his name. Gus Johnson. Where does he rank on your list?
Probably top 5.
He's pretty up there for me.
See, he brings excitement to the game.
Energy.
Like, he is the energy ball.
Did you hear Schroed's his call?
Again, what, the Brookfield call or
Louisville call? Where did that guy come from?
I don't think I've ever heard him that excited.
Nope.
And Michael McKenzie, I think he could have put his fist through a brick wall next to him after calling that.
That was an unbelievable. How about that kid? Nikki C says Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee's like more. He's almost like WWE.
He's like a talk show host. Yeah, I see it. Number one. Amo, number one who? Mike Tirico.
Yeah, he's solid.
That's a good call. So $2 million from me, if I'm getting advice and I'm getting return on investment, probably not at this point going to be Trump. I'm going to go with Elon Musk.
Business aspect of it.
Yeah, just because.
And technology, if you think about it.
Yeah, like Bezos, I respect Bezos a lot. I read a lot about him. I read a lot about Elon Musk. Gary Vee, I've got every single one of his books. So I feel like that's kind of tapped. But Elon Musk is always like living in the future. And honestly, a Dave Portnoy from Barstool. Because if you look at it, Portnoy did what we're doing before we ever were thought of. I think Barstool's been around like 20 years now, something like that.
And they've incorporated almost like live streams into their website and into their fan base when, they do those sports gambling shows and it's like a live stream of like their living room and like 6 or 7 guys watching the game as it's happening. I went on there one time for a Yankees game and they're in New York City. So all those guys are born and raised in New York. They're all Yankees fans. And it's actually entertaining to watch.
It is.
Because they're like live reacting to, the game, watching it. And they've got like rows and rows of people. And they also give you advice on like bets. Like I think they're starting to get into betting a lot more than what they started with.
They were purchased. 40% of the company was purchased for an absorbent amount of money, $400 million, something along those lines, by I think it's the same company that owns Hollywood Casino.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
So yeah, they're going to talk about betting a lot, and betting is taking over the country. Now, I will tell you this, maybe as a preview, if you're listening, if you're watching, and there's a bunch of you out there that are, YSN is going to be kind of divided a little bit as we move forward. Now, a lot of people saw that we're partnering with athletics. We're actually going to be doing a lot more like intramural sports, like adult intramurals, as well as, a lot more youth. But we're separating it because we can actually get sports betting involved. We can get some of these stuff, but not going directly into the youth sports and the high school sports that we have. So we're growing, but we're also kind of branching out from that standpoint. And we still have YSN Prospect that is ready to go once we get that website up. That's still going to help out. So not like Barstool, but similar paths. That's why like Dave Portnoy would be a guy that I would, again, if I had $2 million, but I knew I was going to get 3 back, I would instantly ask for advice on that. But for Donald Trump to be an advisory guy for Mike Tyson, like, can you imagine those conversations?
I can't. You'd have to have a translator.
Mike, you're going to be huge. You're going to win big, bigger than ever before. Bigger than ever before. Yeah, Don, I'm going to do it, man. You go from Don King to Don Trump. Like, think about that. All right, we got a good show for you. We got the brackets. We're going to go over them. Throw your top broadcaster in the comments.
Look at this comment.
Not going to lie, I would go with Steve Leslie.
Go.
My question.
I get that for free.
My question is, as a broadcaster or as an advisor?
Probably both.
I'd go with it. Steve Leslie.
Great
amazing.
Pick. Great pick.
That is a top tier pick. Gus Johnson, Keith Jackson. Oh, Nelly, we got a burner for you. Give me Liberty. Rolep says underrated pick Nick Saban. For the advice,
probably winning culture.
Jim Tressel.
Jim Tressel would be good.
Jim Tressel might be my guy. Like locally, if we had to pick, he might be my guy. Like he's my
and
role
I don't
model.
think he would charge you $2 million either.
No. He's given me some great advice already, and I live by it. But so is Steve Leslie. I mean, Steve Leslie, another guy, Rick Frida, who just introduced to, but he's given me some wise advice. But if we're being 100% honest, the guy that's giving me great advice not in the business realm, but just in life, Dan Yeagley. Like, great advice, great supporter. Want to be like Dan Yeagley. You know what I mean? Want to be that guy that every one of his kids last night walked out of Legends, shook Rick Friday's hand, said thank you. There was over 20 of them, and looked them in the eye. I mean, and then Dan told me they do it every day, like that they're at football. Every coach shake their hand on the way out. Like, teaching sports, again, we talk about sports always because that's who we are. Sports teaches you more, I think, about growing up if it's done right than you can ever learn anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, the adversity of a loss, how to handle it when you're winning, and how to be a man or a young lady. So there's my rant for the day. So, but yeah, there are a lot of people in this area that would be great supervisors, advisors, whatever. And you can learn a lot from. They could probably make a lot of money.
And I think sports overall could bring the worst out of you or the best out of you. And with Dan Yeagley at the helm, I think even if they would lose in the playoffs, I think they would still have the sportsmanship to go over and shake their opponent's hand. And, sometimes that means a lot more off the field than it actually does on the field. Mark
Roth with a great one. Advice from a father, your own or others. That is a great chime in. Mark's a guy who's battled adversity for a long time, and when Mark Roth speaks, I listen because he's been around this train station a time or two. So, what do we have here? Top 5 broadcasters in no particular order: Richie, Anthony, Jamie, Mikey G, and Mike McCann. That is a good list.
It's a nice list.
I like that list. 5 guys I would put in a top game any day of the week. No doubt about it. It's nice when you got 5 grade A announcers. And we got more than that. Stevie Lesnon on that list. CJ Schroeds.
Schroeds is ripping.
He's turned it up.
No, Ricks is an underdog pick.
He is.
I like Ricks.
Mackenzie's come on strong. So is Mikey G.
All right, so we know that Gimme Liberty Baby is somebody that is involved with YSN or somebody that follows very close.
We're narrowing it down there, Gimme Liberty. We're narrowing it down.
Could be somebody in this group chat here.
Could be. For young guys. Oh. Maybe like for young guys to look up to be like?
Maybe.
You don't want to be like me. Or advice. Yep, I agree. All right, let's dive into these things because if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. We're going to sit here and talk about broadcasters, which I'm okay with.
Yeah. All right, let's crack things open. We got Division 2 because we don't have anything in D1.
Timeout. I just got put in with the old guys?
Oh.
Niddle.
Malone's probably got something to say about that,
yeah,
too.
Malone's.
He's not old.
No. It's got to be Niddle.
He put himself – well, he can't even spell his own name.
Well, that's why I think it's Niddle. Niddle, Leslie, DJ, Sigler, and Malone. We're the old guys? Like if we're on Survivor, we're the old dudes on the tribe? We're getting voted out. That's ugly. Throw DJ McKenzie, Ty.
Yeah, why is everybody forgetting about Ty?
I forgot about Ty right there, too.
Ty's had some legendary calls.
Anthony's had some great calls.
Yeah.
Hartwig. People just don't like, especially this demographic, this show, because he does so much volleyball, right. You know what I mean? But in basketball season, Anthony will 100% be in that conversation. There's not a doubt in my mind. All right.
No doubt.
Sorry. I interrupted.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready this time. All right.
We'll start with D2. We'll go from top to bottom.
Okay.
So we'll start with YSN, of course. Austin Town Fitch is going to play Mayfield. Mayfield, we talked about, could be a very tough first-round game for Fitch, a team that has had some quality losses. Chardon is one of them. I know Kenston's another one. Paynesville, Riverside. So this is a team that's played a lot of good opponents this year. Mm-hmm. And Mayfield, it's going to be a tough one for Austin Town Fitch, especially because they're without their starting quarterback here in week number 11. Cam Smith is going to fill that role, which he did a couple of years ago as well. I remember when you were talking with TJ Parker, at the Saxon Club on Sunday. He talked about that. This isn't the first time that, their quarterback has gone down. This is 3 years in a row they've lost their
potential MVP.
Yeah. So, I think Austintown Fitch, been there, done that. I think they get past Mayfield. A great matchup in round 2. St. Vincent St. Mary, I think, will take care of John Hay. I'd rather play John Hay than Mayfield if I'm Austintown Fitch, because Beaver Local smacked John Hay.
Well, I think, that's one of the things that TJ said was, they got a tough draw.
Yeah.
They've been battling adversity since he's been there.
Yeah.
I think, for me, if Deshaun got injured in week 10 and we had a bunch of unknowns and question marks, as good of an athlete as Cam is, you just never know moving from one position to another. But since we've seen Cam, I like Fitch a lot in this game.
They took care of Harding.
Which is an athletic team.
Yeah.
Probably the most underrated team in this area is Warren Harding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're being real.
And then St. Vincent St. Mary is kind of waiting in the wings there for Austintown Fitch in round 2. It would be held at Austintown Fitch because they're the 4 seed. St. V is the 5 seed. I had the opportunity to watch St. Vincent St. Mary beat Ursuline at Stambaugh Stadium there in the middle half of the season. And when I look at St. V, they are very, very good against the run. Their linebacking core is one of the best I've seen in a long time. Their defensive line is actually not very big, but it's their linebackers that make up for it. So I think Austintown Fitch, if they get to that second round, they're going to have to find a way to throw the football, which they haven't done much this season, especially Cam Smith, who's not your prototypical quarterback.
I got to believe that if they're going to put Cam Smith back there, he can sling the rock a little bit.
I hope so.
I have to believe that, just because, I don't think TJ would ever put his team in a situation where they're going to be one-dimensional. He's an athlete and probably one of the best athletes all around. I think he's going to show it off a little bit. I don't know. If Fitch doesn't have to throw, they probably won't. Because why are you going to put that on tape? But if they do, I think Cam will get the job done. I really do, because TJ's way too smart for that, and Cam's way too athletic to not be able to throw the football.
And looking forward in that region, they would have to take down an Archbishop Hoban team who's number 1 in region number 5. So they're going to have to face a big dog at some point. So that's why I like them playing Mayfield early. It kind of gets their feet wet playing a good competitor in round 1. St. V is going to be an even tougher task in round 2. So by that time, Archbishop Hoban is kind of a cakewalk to the regional semi. Austintown Fitch has been geared up playing 2 strong opponents. That'll be a really tough game for Fitch to win. Hoban's one of the best teams in the state, but you never know on any given night if they stick to their game plan. Brian Robinson's a defensive impact for Fitch, a guy that's getting looked at by almost every Power 5 school in the country right now. You never know.
I think from where I stand, Richie, I had a great conversation last night with a former coach, and he said, listen, when there were 8 schools that made the playoffs, we were the 8, and we had to play the 1. And we beat the 1 because at that point, you want the best, because that's where you're healthiest at that point, right? Is early on in the playoffs. You get to week 16, and you are lucky to be at 80%, because all the dings and bruises and ailments that you're going through, and especially that time of year with all the influenza and that stuff going around. You know what I mean? Stuff that I've been fighting for the last 2 months. It finally catches up with you. So I think Fitch wants everybody's best punch, and I think they're going to get it. But I also think that people are underestimating, kind of Rocky Balboa style, the left hook that Fitch is going to land on some chins.
Real quick, before we move on to Division 3, Matt Ganser, my friend, chiming in, he said that John Hay, an up-and-coming program, they did not have a program before 2014. So almost like a Cheney around here. John Hay was 7-3 this season.
Yep.
We talked about their loss to Beaver Local and Glenville, who's 9-0. So, and they lost to Scott, who's 8-2. So 3 quality losses on their schedule. So, that's an up-and-coming program as well up near the Cleveland area.
Isn't it crazy that the great basketball comes out of Cleveland and Akron, and then Cleveland's on the up and up, I guess, from football, but Akron's like active. Like you say Hope, and then people go, "Who?" Like like it's a ghost.
Yeah.
But I think your friend's right. I think what's his name? We'll shout him out again.
Matt Ganser.
Matt, thanks for watching. I think that Cleveland is going to be up and coming. I don't know when they're going to get there, but I think that they're going to get there faster than most people kind of are looking at. So, hey, we got Orange. We're here for it. Hey, we're looking to add more Cleveland schools, Matt. So throw the business card out there, baby. Bay Village, bring them on. Beechwood, let's go.
Bay Village was close to playing Canfield back in 2018 in that regional. They came just a game short. Obviously, Canfield lost to St. Vincent, St. Mary that season, but they had a really good football team in 2018. Historically, a good program. So would love to have them on YSN. And Ganser's a former broadcasting guy. He'd be able to fill in the broadcasting duties there.
Let's get him on the middle-aged guys.
All right, we'll move on to Division III, Region 9, of course, number 1 seed Chardon. We moved down to some YSN schools. Of course, you got Canfield, who's the number 2 seed. They're going to play New Philadelphia, a team that they have beaten 2 consecutive years in a row now. They beat them 35-0 last year on the road, and it's a very similar New Philadelphia team. I was looking at their roster and comparing it from last year to this year. A lot of familiar faces from, the Quakers. So I don't see the Cardinals having a problem in round 1. Ursuline playing Hawken. I was talking with Romo about this. Hawken, who's 8-2, but their strength of schedule just is not there. They play a lot of Division 5 schools up in that area, and their 2 losses come to Division 3 schools. So I don't see Ursuline having a problem with them. I think everybody wants to see the golden matchup between Canfield and Ursuline in that regional semifinal.
Yeah. I like we'd be lying if we didn't want that. It's one of those things where D3 is going to be a wild ride, and we're here for it. I'm looking for it. You're waiting for it. I mean, you'll follow Canfield all the way until the horse gets saddled. But it's for us. It's one of those things. Like, name those teams again: Canfield, Cheney, Ursuline.
Although I think Cheney's got a very difficult first round matchup. Alliance. They match up with Cheney because they're just as athletic. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Whoever stays disciplined in the fourth quarter, I think it's going to come out with a victory there. And then Cheney could possibly play University School or Kenston in that second round. So at some point, Cheney could get to Chardon and Ursuline could get to Canfield. So that's the dream destination for all 3 of our local teams in Division 3, Region 9.
I love it. I'm excited for it. The Division 3's got me amped up. I got to be honest with you. It's going to be fun to watch. That's the one that I'll have on in my booth probably the entire night. It's just flipping between those 3.
And then we move on to Division 4, of course, West Branch, who's the number 1 seed. Man, have they turned it around since that loss to Canfield in week number 1. I talked about it last night on 21. Boston Mullinax, who's having himself a heck of a campaign as a sophomore. They got 3 talented receivers that put on a show against Salem. I know Martig was one of the guys that had a big night for the West Branch Warriors, and you were able to watch that game as well. I really like West Branch's odds to get to the regional final.
I do too. I think there's less standing in their way, a.k.a. Ursuline, this time around. But I'm not going to be surprised because, listen, Drew DeShields, it doesn't surprise me he went out and balled out on Saturday night. But I wish we had a barometer of how healthy he is right now. You know what I mean? Because a short week, you play on Saturday night, you got a short week this week to get back into it. Well, I love the Salem West Branch matchup on Saturdays because it's the lone wolf usually. I don't necessarily like it when you're playing on Fridays in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Especially – and I think West Branch will easily survive being that they're, a low seed or a high seed, depending on which way you look at it. I really like West Branch, though. I just wonder about their health. And in this time of year, it's hard to get healthy because it's week after week, and it just builds and builds and builds. And they've already had a rough and tumble schedule towards the end of the year.
Talk about a team that's healthy is Struthers. They've got everybody right now clicking at the right time. Struthers, winners of their last 5 in a row. This is a team that has really trusted the climb. That's their motto. They started off 1-4, and then to beat Girard and Jefferson in the last 4 weeks of the season, 2 big victories. And this is a team that's obviously a dangerous ball club right now. I see them beating Edgewood in the first round. And then, like Loner talked about, we could have a potential West Branch against Struthers matchup in round 2.
Well, you look at what Struthers has done. They lost their quarterback at the beginning of the season. Alec Grzib has been absolutely phenomenal stepping in and leading that offense. And you've got guys like Chazzy Cognac and guys on the line like Brady Clyde who are leaders. And this senior-led team has a lot of young guys on it. And the experience is the thing that I'm excited for, but I'm also concerned with, because the playoffs are a different animal.
Yeah.
It's a different atmosphere. It's one and done. There's a lot on the line. Can you, as a student athlete, compartmentalize your heart and your head? And I think Struthers can do it. They've been in the playoffs for 6 weeks already, essentially. They had a 1-4 start, I think.
Yeah.
So, they've been in the playoffs basically every week since week 5. I like Struthers' chances. Potential matchups, I mean, they're all over the place. But if you're looking at this as a coach, you look at Struthers, there's a lot to look at. I mean, there's a lot, because their defense is stingy.
Yeah, you saw that against South Range.
Oh, my gosh.
That's really the only team that's battled with South Range this year.
Yeah, you can say Hubbard. I heard last night University School and got into a little bit of a debate about that one. I thought they handled
They killed University School.
I thought they handled them pretty easily. I don't think the game was ever in question. Maybe in the first half. But the difference between South Range and everybody else is what they do in the second half. They just, it's a hammer down left lane, and, they're not paying tolls. They're just right through.
We'll talk about South Range in a little bit of a deeper dive. See, the bottom half of this Division 4 bracket is probably the best part of YSN when you look at it from our company standpoint. Every single game, all 4 games, we got at least one YSN team in there. We started off up top, Beaver playing Coventry in round 1. Coventry's had a tough year. They're up near Akron. I think Beaver's too much. They're riding the hot hand. Canton South and Salem is going to be a fantastic football game.
Dogfight.
Canton South is a really good quarterback. Salem also has a really good quarterback with Johnson. And then the Quakers showed me a lot of potential in that rivalry game against West Branch on Saturday. I think this is a team that you can't take for granted, especially Beaver Local. If they get to that second round matchup, remember the Quakers beat them in the second week.
The 440 burner account.
Oh, boy.
Can you imagine if this is actually our 440 guys? But they're smart like that too.
Yeah.
Not so fast, my friend. Watch out for Edgewood winners of the Battle of the Bridge. I'm not saying Edgewood isn't going to put up a fight. I'm not saying that they're even going to lose. I'm just saying.
I said they were going to lose.
Well,
you're not.
You're on your own. I'm picking Struthers.
I am too.
Like I'm picking Struthers. Nothing against Edgewood. I guess Edgewood has just as good a chance as everybody else. That was an impressive win over Lakeside.
Mm-hmm.
Does Salem have the hangover effect after going toe-to-toe West Branch? Great question.
It's a short week, from Saturday to Friday. So I'm guessing they didn't practice on Sunday. They got back to action on Monday. It's a shorter week with 4 days of practice, and then you get ready and you got to travel as well up to Canton South, I should say. So we'll see. I hope not, because I don't want to see the Quakers go out in round 1.
Did they not? They played this year, didn't they?
Who?
Canton South and Salem?
I don't think so.
So Canton South left the EBC this year.
Yeah, they're out. They're not.
Okay, so I stand corrected, because I feel like they always play.
Now, Salem played Beaver Local in the second week and beat them 40-27 on the road.
Right.
So they would be playing in Beaver Local for the second time this season if they get past Canton South.
It's like we always talk about. Week 2 and week 11 are way different
completely
teams.
different.
Way different teams. You can take that tape and just burn it.
Yeah.
You're better off looking at week 9, week 10 highlight tapes than you are looking at week 2.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking at your own. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Salem, I heard rumors that both teams, Salem and West Branch, it was hard to walk on Sunday. You get out of that bed, and it's a little bit tough. And if you're barely walking on Sunday and you got a short week, you might be a little bit stiff. And hopefully Coach Johnson and Coach Cooper got the adrenaline going a little bit, got some of that juice out, that lactic acid that makes you sore. But if you're sore, and that's why Week 10 hell on wheels matchups are tough if you're in the playoffs, man, because a lot can happen. We talked about health. I'm worried about Drew. I'm worried about the Quakers. It's going to be interesting.
Here's another big one. Girard and Hubbard, a rematch in Week 8, and Girard handled Hubbard the first time around, 49-14. Steven Sims, who was the quarterback that stepped in after the loss of Nick Bengala, had 185 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game in week number 8. You know, when you look at Hubbard, DJ, I think they have to find a way to throw the football around. Girard did a fantastic job the last meeting, shutting down their running attack to just 121 yards total throughout all 4 quarters. So if Hubbard's able to throw the ball around a little bit, I think they're going to have a chance. I don't know if Nick Bengala is coming back or not.
I don't think so.
If he's not, they always have a chance because this is a completely different Girard team with Bengala as the quarterback.
So Bengala was lost in week, was that 7? They played South Range?
6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay, so this last time they played was when Jamie fell in love with Steven Sims. Like, remember the text message you said, like, best player in the area, all that. I mean, and that week he was impressive.
4 touchdowns, pretty good.
So I think we're going to get a steady dose of Sims again if he's healthy. Hopefully he is. Fingers crossed. But my goodness, Hubbard's got to figure something out quick.
Yeah,
you know, because playing South Range last week, holding them to 28, and that's crazy to even say that's holding a team.
Yeah.
But when you're holding a team that usually scores in the 50s or 60s to 28, you're doing all right. So they got to figure things out. This is going to be a quick study of what they can do. But there's no team like a desperate team, Richie.
Yeah.
And we are in a 1-game playoff situation, tournament situation. Hubbard is going to have to, and Rocky Lombardi right here, Hubbard is going to, they said they need to learn how to throw the ball. I think they know how to throw the ball. I just think they need to incorporate that into their offense. Yeah. But they have to get up early.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Their defense has been so good this year. 4 times this year they've held opponents to under 10 points.
Yep.
I mean, that's solid. Mason Hodge has 102 tackles. He's their starting linebacker. 12 tackles for a loss this season. Nick Bowser, their defensive lineman, has 14 tackles for a loss. So there's no question about it. This defense for Hubbard is really, really good, but it's very difficult when you're constantly on the field playing more than 14, 15 minutes a half on the defensive side of the ball because you're 3 and out on offense.
Now, Hubbard did something that I didn't even realize until I talked to Coach Yeagley last night. They put Bowser into a lead blocker role in the backfield.
Smart.
On Friday.
Dude's
so
a beast.
He's a monster. He's a great wrestler as well. And I just – Hubbard's going to have to pull out all the stops and catch Girard off guard, not once, but probably multiple times throughout the night, because if they let Girard and Coach Pearson control this game, they're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
They're not – it's like, you know, giving up a Ken Griffey Jr. card for a Mookie Blaylock. You're not getting it back. No givesies backsies.
I love the bottom half of this bracket. All 4 teams are any 8 teams. Girard and Hubbard will play the winner of Jefferson area and Poland Seminary, the 6 versus the 11. I like Jefferson in this one. They beat them 27-13 on the road in Poland. This time they welcome the Bulldogs to Jefferson, and Poland's banged up. Let's be honest. You know, we talk about being healthy in the postseason. Unfortunately for Coach Pavlansky, this is a team that's not healthy right now. And, you know, with Jefferson playing the way they have throughout the season at 7-3, a pretty solid campaign for the Falcons, I think that they're going to take care of the Bulldogs on Friday night.
You can say that, but I just want to create that doubt in the back of your mind. Everybody counted out Poland against Girard. And Poland, I mean, obviously they lost some of these games, but they won some games that we were sitting here, I mean, across the board. Is anybody picking Poland? And we got egg all over our face, Rich. So, again, the records are over. What happened in the regular season is done. Do the Falcons have enough experience to let it linger over into the playoffs?
I think so. I think Grant Hitchcock's one of those guys that has experience.
QB1.
And I
got a good story on him right now.
I think he takes care of business.
And listen, I'm not surprised if he does, but I'm also saying, remember who's been to the dance almost every year.
Poland's been there a lot.
Yeah.
Poland has been there a lot.
They're a multi-year letter winner,
Mhm.
right? They've been at the varsity level for a long time. Coach Pavlansky, it's still a Pavlansky. He's still coaching. And anytime there's one of those guys in the game, you got to tip your cap. So I'm not going to say who I'm going to pick until Friday, but I'm going to say it's going to be a lot closer than last time.
Talking about a multi-year letter winner in the postseason, South Range in D5.
The Raiders.
The Raiders without, obviously, Kirtland, who's in D6. I like them against Liberty. The interesting matchup could be Conneaut and Garfield. Smash mouth football there.
We're working on getting there. 4-4-0 in goal. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So the path for me, for South Range, looks like this. Liberty, Garfield, Carter Mooney.
I think so, too.
Although there's no Kirtland, the path is not easy.
It's not. It's never
for the
easy.
Raiders. And they don't want to give into them by any sense of the word. But everybody, and listen, nobody's more Raider than I am, right? At this
think we
place.
know that.
I'm not ready to crown them to this point, and I don't think they want to be crowned because they know that now all that work they did, 2 undefeated seasons in a row, means nothing right now because the ultimate goal is a state championship, not a district, not like none of that stuff matters, right? Great after the season stuff. They want a state championship. So I think the Raiders are in for a rough ride. I think they survive it, though.
John Caberna.
Yeah, there is. There's always a shot, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
The Raiders are concerned about the speed of Liberty and the special teams, where Liberty has to worry about the offense and defense. Special teams is one play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At a time, I should say. I just want to see the team. And maybe somebody can help me with this. In D5, who's a team that can stop South Range offensively and get past them defensively? I can't, everybody wants to talk about Garraway. I don't think that that's the team. Well, they've got everybody back. No, they don't. They lost 6 seniors or 3 seniors on both sides of the ball, right? So in reality, you've got to beat South Range in 2 or 3 phases and almost be perfect because you got to beat them in special teams too. There's a guy named Shane Lindstrom that's pretty damn good. And also Aiden Leon's almost taken a few to the house as well. So you've got to beat them in 3 phases in a game to beat the South Range Raiders. I don't know that there's a team out there right now. And somebody could point it out to me. I just don't, I don't believe it at this point.
I think Mooney's a team that would propose a threat.
Right. But
like
again,
seeing Mooney hold Ursuline to 13 was eye-opening.
But I don't know. And because I watched that game in person, Mooney covered the edges, right? They covered the edges very, very well. But they let up the middle. And Ursuline just stopped going up the middle. I mean, once Jack scored up the middle from 20 yards out and it was 10-0, I felt like, Christian ran for over 200 yards. If you let South Range do that, the pace of play that they have, because they can go fast, they can go up tempo, and they can slow that game down real fast.
I guess, a part of my expertise I'm missing is the South Range line. Mm-hmm. I'm not very familiar with their line. Maybe you could kind of.
Sure, you got Bailey Ryan, which people, if you watch the tape, most teams are double teaming Bailey Ryan, but that opens up broad daylight for my main dude, the Fur, right? So
is that his name, the Fur?
Well, he goes by the Fur. Yeah. So you look at Christopher Colucci, by the way. If you go that route, then you're leaving dudes open to knock you down in the backfield. And that's why there's been so many tackles for loss. J.D. Krause coming off the edge has been phenomenal. So you can try to run around the edges. The Raiders have that locked down too. So their defensive line is probably the strength of this team on defense. You add the linebackers to that, and you were talking about linebackers earlier. These guys are, I'm going to say headhunters, and it's not going to come off right, but they are swarming to the ball. And what they do is they hunt the head of somebody that has the football, and they take that body down quick.
Stick to their keys.
That's it. And once you get rid of that football, you almost have to have trick plays in for South Range. But South Range also has trick plays that they have never, maybe a handful of times this season, had to expose because they've been ahead by 20, 30 points in every single game.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, they have the lead in almost every single game, and it's always big. I mean, they really haven't played a close game outside of Struthers this year. I mean, let's be honest with it.
I think Ursuline would beat South Range by 2 scores. Mooney hung with one of the best in the area. If South Range plays Mooney, it will definitely be close.
I
don't disagree with that.
I think that, Mooney and South Range would be a close game. Now, I still think at some point South Range would probably be able to get past Cardinal Mooney. Like you said, you got to beat them in all 3 stages of the game. And, Garaway's a team that has done wonders defensively this year, but they're not around our area. So it's very difficult for me to gauge, who this team is playing on a week-to-week basis. We see it all the time in the NE8 with South Range playing Girard and Jefferson and all these teams in the NE8, which I've been able to watch. But I'm not familiar with a lot of the teams that Garaway plays. Like, they're 10-0, but they've beaten a good Carrollton team 35-0. Indian Valley, that's about it. That's all I know on the schedule. So it's very hard to gauge from our perspective who Garaway has played and how they would defend South Range.
JB says Mooney is big up front. If they can tighten up things on the offensive line, defensive line play, they can beat just about any team in D5, in his opinion. I agree with that. They are big up front. Again, though, it's not about size when it comes down to it. And honestly, one of the toughest things about that matchup is it won't be at Raider Stadium.
No.
It'll be somewhere else.
It'll be neutral.
So you
could be played at Boardman.
That's what I was thinking. Boardman, Fitch.
They love Niles.
Yeah.
Well, they might stick away from Niles because
that's kind of a travel. Yeah,
it's traveling
a little bit travel for both of those teams. But I would say, like, Boardman's probably perfect for that. Boardman or Struthers would also be a nice one, or Camel would be a nice facility to have that in. So I think I can't wait. If that's what happens, then that's how it shakes out, because we win either way. At that point. Because then we have that'll be a regional championship right?
Game.
So I like that. I like that a lot. So if that happens, it's great for us, and I'm happy for it.
So we pretty much nailed all the teams in Division 5 right there. You got Garfield, South Range, and Cardinal Mooney. So let's move on to D6 while we have the time. Obviously, there's a lot of good teams, I think, in Division 6. When you look at the YSN rankings, let's start it off with Valley Christian, who's the number 3 seed in Division 6. 9-0, didn't get to play Week 10, but this is a team that stunned Southern at home 15-6 in a comeback victory. And I think that Coach Hake better than anybody in the world. But, I think he's got this team ready to go.
I think he does too. I always worry when a team doesn't play Week 10. You know what I mean? I always worry that next week after a team plays, because did they get too much rest? I know Coach Hake and the coaches are going to have them ready. However, to me, it boils down to focus. And I think Andy would tell you the same thing. They can beat anybody as long as they're focused. But at the end of the day, sometimes these guys are new to the dance, right? Going to the playoffs, and now you've got a home game, which is going to be played at Boardman, which, to my knowledge, they haven't played there.
No.
Right? Mm-mm. So kind of new surroundings.
Yeah.
I don't think they practice there. I think it's just game facility only.
Okay.
So from that standpoint, it's a neutralized location. You know what I mean? And Valley travels nicely, but what is it? Trinity?
Trinity and Trinity plays them round 1. You're awaiting the winner of Cuyahoga Heights and Cardinal.
Okay, so yeah,
That's a long trip though for Cuyahoga Heights and Cardinal and then Trinity as well. So
I just don't know how Trinity travels
I don't either.
because they have the potential to make it a home game if they wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we know Valley shows up, but that's a small school.
Yes.
You know, and people say D6. It really should be a D7 school.
Yeah, Trinity's up there in Garfield Heights, so that's a hike for them. That's a hike.
Well, they'll either be watching on YSN or they'll be traveling to Boardman.
There you go. You know, I really feel bad for United in this draw, getting the 9 seed. They're gonna most likely play Kirtland if they get to that second round, if they beat Rootstown. And you know, United is a great football team. We have spoke to Grant Knight a time or two, who's an outstanding player, but you know, when you're playing a Kirtland team that has dominated Division II teams, I just think it's going to be a tough second round.
Yeah, I mean,
you never know what could happen.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I hate
United
to sit
has
there.
the air attack.
They do, and they can run the ball. And you know, don't forget about their secret weapon. They got Courtney who can drill 50-yard field goals.
It's true.
So if it comes down to a field goal, I like United's chances.
I think Siggy will have some fun with that one if he gets the opportunity to call that.
I'm going to have a hard time holding him back from that. You know what I mean? But that's a long ride to Kirtland.
Yes.
And he's working full time, so we'll have it.
We'll have somebody fill in there.
Amo.
Jackson Milton, Dalton. I mean,
What a ride.
We've called this team a lot. I mean, the last couple of years, Dalton. We've learned that
Dalton Abbey.
The hard way. 8-2. They've had a pretty good season, losing to Garraway 35-0 and losing to Hillsdale. So, I mean, there is a shot for Jackson Milton to pull off the upset here. I mean, we talked to their quarterback and Schiavi, right?
Yep,
that's how you say it.
Schiavi School.
And, yeah, I mean, whenever you have him on the field, I think they have a chance to win.
I think this is the upset of the night. You know, they were asking, Gary was in earlier asking us for the upset. We talked to him about, you know, Mooney over Edison. I think this is the one that nobody's looking for. I'm taking the Jays.
And what would be really fun, Brookfield playing Pymatuning Valley in round 1. I see the Warriors winning. If that upset does occur, you got Jackson Milton against Brookfield in round 2. Which
Again.
would be fun.
Again.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
That was a high profile game the first time around, and I'm sure it'll be a high profile game in round 2.
Team we can't miss out on, Mineral Ridge, 10-7 against Canton Central Catholic. You have talked to Brian Shaner, his entire squad there. Good group of guys. Still a little bit young with some of their skill players, but I still think that, you know, Mineral Ridge could beat this Canton Central Catholic team.
So if we're talking about the toughest draws, I think Mineral Ridge got the toughest draw. Of any of our YSN teams, they got the toughest draw, maybe outside of Edison. So Canton Central Catholic is big. They're physical. They've got a big quarterback. And they're going up against a physical team in Mineral Ridge, who I think for my money, the pound for pound most physical team in our network. So that being said, I'm not saying Ridge is going to lose. I think they're in for a night, though. They're in for a big night because the letdown against Lowville, you know what I mean, in week 9, I think hurt them mentally more than anybody's letting on. Can they let go of that loss and fight for something bigger? I know Coach Shaner's going to have them coached up, and it's going to come down to who's tougher at that. And we've seen Tri-C can be beat. South Range did it. Can Ridge follow that same format? You know, I'm guaranteeing that Coach Shaner's watching that Ridge or that South Range game saying, what did they do?
Yeah.
And Tristan Valley's, I think, every bit the quarterback that Billy Skirpak is, you know, for his level. So we'll see.
When you look at Division 6, I think we could possibly have a Valley Christian Mogador matchup in the regional semi. That'd be a fun one. And then you could also have Brookfield against Kirtland,
which is what everybody wants. And you know, talking to Coach Clark, he said his kids won't care. Most kids will hear Kirtland and again get the shivers. He said his kids don't care; they just want to play football, and that's why I love Coach Clark. He's straight up and down. He'll tell you exactly what he thinks. Doesn't care if it hurts your feelings or not. He just lets it fly. And I think his team has adopted that same kind of culture. Look out for Brookfield if they're playing Kirtland.
Yeah.
I you know, people are going to say you're crazy, you're nuts, da 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 da. I'm just telling you, Brookfield is a different breed of animal. And especially with probably that week of practice leading up to it, the underdog syndrome will be in full effect.
All right, D7 is where it gets fun. We've got 3 teams in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
You got JFK, you got Lowville as 2, and then Southern comes in as the number 4 seed. So when you look at a potential bracket that can produce a state qualifier, I really like Division 7.
I like it a lot. But you have Southern at 3, you said, right?
Southern's at 4.
4. Okay, so we were at Southern for that Wellsville game, and one of the things that they said to us is we want JFK.
We want JFK. At some point they'll get it.
And I love Southern. I don't think anybody wants those hands right now.
No, I don't think so either. Because JFK, they're going to skate by Fairport Harding. Second round matchup could be intriguing with Springfield, because I think Springfield's able to beat Matthews. And if you see Springfield against JFK, could be a good one.
All bets are off.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, when you're playing against a team that has been there and done that, like Springfield has, but you're also a team that has been there and done that. And think about it. A couple years ago, we're following JFK and Springfield in the state championships. And now they have a potential to be in each other's way to get there at some point. While I like that, we'll put up Matty Balone, go Rockets. There's your spoiler right there. There's a lot of people that continue to overlook the Lowville Rockets and Vinny Balone. That clip of somehow Brady Banofsky getting wide open, like you couldn't cover him with 10 people on that. Like, that's a danger in D7. If you can throw the ball in D7, you are a threat. Yeah. And who right now, this season, other than maybe Donovan Pulowski of Brookfield, has thrown the ball better than Vinny Balone?
Nobody in the state in D7. So I really like Lowville. I think they got a great draw playing Catholic Central in round 1, play the winner of Toronto and Lucas, who I think they're able to get by in round 2. You'll most likely match up with Danville, who I think they could beat. And we could potentially see a Lowville JFK in the regional final.
Ooh, daddy.
So that'd be fun. And, this is a good comment here. JFK had the region locked up after they beat that Perkins team. They had so many points that even when they lost to Mogador, they're still almost like 5 or 6 points ahead of everybody else in that region. So, JFK has definitely played the strength of schedule to compete in D7.
Okay. Lucas has played one of the strongest schedules in all of D7. Strength of schedule shows up in playoffs. So that means JFK, who played the toughest and strongest schedule in D7, would beat Lucas.
No, he does have a good point here, though. So I'm looking at their schedule right now. Clear Fork 9-1, Mogador 9-0, Crestview, not the Rebels, the other Crestview 10-0, Fort Laramie's 8-2, Arlington's 9-1. That's pretty solid schedule.
But show me a team that's played up as much as JFK has.
No, I mean Lucas played a Division 3 team, but they weren't very good. So yeah, and I think JFK's Division 4 win over Perkins, who's 9-1. I mean, that opens some eyes there.
But here's the thing. We talk about it, and again, I feel like I'm beating a drum here. Richie, it doesn't matter. When you get to the playoffs, who you played gets you where you want to go initially.
Points to get to
but
the number 1
but
seed.
now it's strategy, right? Now it comes down to how do you defeat these teams that have never, most of the time, seen you before. And all you can do is watch tape and garner opinions and look at rosters and then sit there and go, well, you know what? At the end of the day, this is who they played. And you can either be scared and get a dog, or you can step up and fight. And I know that JFK 100% is not afraid of anybody in this tournament because they've been there. The experience counts. When you're playing 14 weeks instead of 10 weeks, you're getting an extra month of the season that those other teams aren't getting. So that's why I think teams like Springfield are extremely dangerous, because for the last 3 years, they have had 3 months of extra football that they've played.
Yep. State qualifiers. And JFK, back-to-back years, state championship, state semifinal. So
that's an entire season, Rich. That's an entire season of experience that they've had. Here we go. Gina says, every team has to adjust. I don't disagree with that at all. Last question. Most overrated playoff team could be outside of YSN.
Ooh, that's a tough question. Most overrated. I don't know.
I'm going to say this. Team that should have made the playoffs is Crestview. I know that's not the question, but it's still just like a bug that flies around my face. Like, it pissed me off that they didn't make it.
I got one.
Okay.
University School.
You don't like them at all.
No, it's not that I don't like them. I just don't think they're very good. And they're in the number 4 seed in Division 3, Region 9.
Here we go. AMO to the rescue, as always. Lucas, level 1 points, is less than 16 seed. So how tough is their schedule? Listen.
It's a good schedule. I'm not bashing Lucas saying it's not. It's a good schedule, but JFK's played a harder one. Just that's it.
You know what I heard? If you're gonna piss with the puppies, stay on the porch. Let the big dog eat. All right. Good show. Good show. It is time for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark? Presented by our friends over in North Lima. Joe Dickey Electric, anything commercial, residential, anything electrical. You need to get to Joe Dickey Electric today. Get with them at DickeyElectric.com. Did you just break my chair?
No. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to lock it in.
They're cheap. And welcome. Richie's trying to fix the chair still. All right. Joe Dickey Electric, What's Your Spark? Presented by Joe Dickey Electric. Richie, go.
I think the opportunity last night, I want to thank you for allowing me to go on 21. That was a lot of fun. You know, with Greg McAfee, with the Vindicator, Champ Summers, that guy is a guru when it comes to the history of high school football in Northeastern Ohio. He had a book of every single team's matchups in the playoffs from like 1980 all the way up to present. So
you thought I was joking when I told you he brings this like catalog.
It's crazy. He's got 2 of them.
Yep.
But yeah, that was fun. I mean, just to represent us and, talk about what we've been talking about on a different show, with our partners was fun.
Proud of you. Number one, first
thanks.
and foremost, you held your own and you did it how only YSN could do it. We appreciate our friends, Dana Ballish, of course, everybody over at 21 WFMJ, our partners, for allowing us that opportunity. And you killed it, my man. I'm proud of you. Proud as hell. I wanted to give a tip of the cap because this doesn't always happen. Last night, Chris Colucci and the entire band of brothers over there at South Range showed up for a couple of guys who don't get a whole lot of playing time during the year and supported them and just, eased their mind a little bit. But more than that, every single player for South Range that was at Legends last night took the time to take a picture with the owner, Rick Frida, which I thought was so cool. Because in today's world of entitlement and people, looking the other way and bullying and all that crap that goes with, these guys took time out of their day and they said, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting YSN. Can't thank the South Range community enough for showing up each and every week. Same thing goes for Mineral Ridge when we do the Mineral Ridge show, the Ursuline show. Tonight we have the Fitz show. And of course, at Coca's Pizza, we'll have Canfield as well. And then Cheney at Hackett's. These have been the most fun things that I like. We love interviewing student athletes. We love interviewing coaches. One of the favorite things that we do. We love doing our games, obviously, but sometimes games can get, you get a stinker, a 66-6 game. It stinks.
Interviews are always interesting. We'll say that.
Interviews, we feel like we're in control a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can kind of dial up what we want to do. So want to thank everybody out there that it tunes into those games, whether it's live and in person or watching them on YSN. They're really our calling card, at the beginning and the end of the day. So thank you so much for that. That's my spark. That's his spark. I'm DJ. He's Richie. That's going to do it for us. We'll be back tomorrow, 3 to 4, right here on the network. Peace. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation.